This week on ANN, the Adventist Church files a Friend of the Court brief to the U.S. Supreme Court for a religious freedom case.
Stories of young people who dedicated a year of their lives to spread God's love through mission.
And thousands of university students from Colombia, Peru, and Argentina become inspired to serve.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, the Adventist Church last week filed an amicus brief, or a friend of the court brief, urging the U.S. Supreme Court to accept the case of a Muslim girl who was denied a job because her head covering violated corporate policy. The church fears that without intervention from the Supreme Court, the ruling of a lower court will create a legal precedent that will erode religious freedom workplace rights. Todd McFarland shares what might happen if the law goes unchecked.
This law could have a lot of negative effects. Primarily of interest to the Adventist churches, it would allow employers to effectively screen out not just Adventists but Jews and other Sabbatarians during the application process, and there would be no remedy for that. So a person could simply say, we don't want anyone who cannot work on Sabbath, and not have to accommodate that at the application stage.
Young adults in the church's Southern Asia Pacific region are making a positive impact in their territory through the 1 year in mission ministry. Tony Stanier has more.
Hi, I'm Tony Stanier, and I'm serving as the 1 year in mission coordinator for the Southern Asia Pacific Division Youth Department. I want to share with you some of the updates that are happening here in our division with the 1 year in mission progress. About 2 weeks ago, I was able to visit Alvianos, who is our lead coordinator in East Indonesia. He has a wonderful group there. He was able to share with me some of the projects they were working on and where they made a center of influence in one of the ice cream parlors there in Makassar. We also did a compassion program on the Sabbath where we invited about 100 youth to participate in sharing God's love in practical ways. We were able to pay for the local transportation, giving out food, and also giving little happy cards that made people smile, especially some of the police officers that we met there. Singcam, Keiko, and Sofal, who are leading out in Kota Kinabalu with the SAUM 1 year in mission team. A lot has been happening there, and if you would just pop over to their Facebook, you'll see some of their compassion programs, their small group activities, and also their care group they have there with the non-believers. John Dokot is active with his 1 year mission team there in the city of Batangas. If you also view their 1 year mission page, you'll be able to see some of the community services that they've been working on, a medical mission. And also one thing that's interesting is that they're having a prayer program that happens at the city hall. It's something that they're really trying to make a reality of bringing Jesus into the city government there.
Make sure to stay tuned to see more 1 year in mission testimonies and initiatives later in the program.
The Columbia Adventist University in Medellin last month organized an event that drew nearly 2,000 students and professionals from Colombia, Argentina, and Peru to get motivated to serve. The I Will Go To Congress was the third such event to promote mission work around the world. The university's president, Dr. Abraham Acosta, said he and the organizers wanted to inspire young people pursuing different careers to know that they too can grow a passion for mission. As a result of the Congress, more than 100 attendees signed up for the university's School of Mission. Organizers said their goal was to motivate young people to serve beyond the borders of Colombia.
Adventists in Brazil are raising awareness for the need of bone marrow donations and environmental issues in their nation. Novo Tempo sent this report.
Volunteers, along with the local Adventist hospital, are bringing attention to the lack of bone marrow donations.
At this time, we currently have 80 patients on the waiting list for bone marrow. And if we are to strive to have each one of these patients to live, we need 100,000 new people to enlist as possible donors.
Environmental issues were also highlighted during this campaign. According to the Department of Public Works, in the past 10 years, the amount of trash accumulated in the state of Manaus has grown 38%. As a result, the Adventist Church started the project My Clean City, I Love Manaus. This involved around 5,000 students distributing educational material and cleaning public spaces. The students distributed 15,000 pamphlets throughout the city.
Without a doubt, this is a very important initiative, and I think it's really important for their education to get them involved with the environment.
To see the full story, visit news.adventist.org.
Adventists in Ukraine and Brazil found creative ways to raise awareness of the harmful effects of smoking. More than 100 people were reached last month with the Life Without Cigarettes campaign in Ukraine, where candy was given in exchange for cigarettes. Adventists also distributed materials with tips on how to kick the habit. In Brazil, students from the Adventist School of Santa Maria conducted a mock funeral during the nation's anti-smoking day. Students dressed in all black and walked in a procession as they held a coffin symbolizing a person who died from smoking. Students also gave away apples to people who turned in their cigarettes.
An Adventist university on the twin Caribbean islands of Trinidad and Tobago recently opened a center for African studies. The University of Southern Caribbean Center opened on the anniversary of the abolition of slavery in the British West Indies. Nasiru Waje, the minister counselor of the Nigerian High Commission, commended the university by saying it will ensure the contributions of Africans to humanity will remain well documented. The university's president, Dr. Clinton Valley, said the center was designed to encourage research from an Afrocentric perspective. The Nigerian High Commission has also assisted the university by providing lecturers to teach 3 native Nigerian languages at the center.
A section of the U.S. state of California recently experienced the largest earthquake in its region in 25 years. An Adventist church in the affected area opened its doors to members of a historic Methodist church that suffered significant damage. Although the Napa Valley Seventh-day Adventist Church experienced damage of broken glass, shifted pews, and bent pipe organs, it didn't stop the church from reaching out to the First United Methodist Church the day after the earthquake struck. The Napa Valley Church Board voted to allow the Methodist Church to use their facility to conduct worship services at no cost as they await repairs.
Thousands of Adventists in Serbia's capital city of Belgrade said they had a chance to see their dreams come true last month by attending a concert presented by a world-renowned Adventist singing group. The Heritage Singers gave the concert at the Sava Center to more than 4,000 attendees. The Heritage Singers have been committed to spreading the gospel through song for more than 40 years.
And finally in the news this week, we would like to acknowledge that Monday, September 8, is the United Nations International Literacy Day. This will be a time for you, your family, or your local church to find ways to raise awareness of the literacy problems within your community. Raquel Ahais shares why the Adventist Women's Ministry Department has a vested interest in this issue.
Illiteracy is one of the issues that impact women globally. Just a number, 775 million people cannot read and write, and 2/3 of this number are women. So we are committed as a department to build the capacity of our women, to help them to overcome poverty and abuse and other issues that impact women globally through literacy programs. And one example is India, who has a program that is beautiful called Never Too Late to Read. And it's all over India, helping women, empower them to have a better life and to build their future in a different way.
Coming up, find out what's in the latest edition of Adventist World magazine.
It was around noon when Peter went up to the roof to pray. It was here that Peter had a vision about a large sheet containing a mix of unclean animals, representing God's affirmation of the diversity of peoples in the growing church.
We had heard that Peter was staying at the house of Simon the tanner and were instructed by Cornelius the centurion to go out and find him.
While Peter was still thinking about the vision, the Holy Spirit told him to go downstairs because 3 men were looking for him. Peter went down and told the men that he was the one they were looking for.
We then told Peter that Cornelius the centurion had been told by an angel that Peter would come and see him at his house. So, unbeknown to Peter, Cornelius was already expecting his visit to Caesarea.
What happened here was quite unusual, just the fact that Peter entered the house. Remember that it was against the law for a Jew to associate with or visit a Gentile.
Cornelius told Peter how 3 days earlier he had been praying in his house when an angel had appeared before him.
Peter shared with Cornelius his new understanding that God does not show favoritism and is the Lord of all. This was a real turning point. From this point on, the gospel was also given among other people groups, and it all started out with prayer and fasting and a vision.
Welcome back. Kim Moran shares a preview for the current issue of Adventist World.
While I'm sure readers will be blessed by each article appearing in the September Adventist World, here are a few of the standout articles. First, the cover story is really a package about prayer. Bill Knott's introduction on page 3 sets the tone for the cover. The main feature, entitled God Answers Prayer, shares 14 stories from 10 Days of Prayer initiative held in early 2014. These are incredible testimonials from around the world on how God answers prayer. Mark Finley's article called The Reality of Unanswered Prayers brings up the matter of trusting in God when we don't get the answers we want. And finally, Jerry Page writes a short piece on how united prayer works. Another article centered on prayer is Ted N.C. Wilson's Persistent Prayer. In it, Wilson writes about the prayers of Jesus recorded in the Bible. He also highlights the other 74 prayers recorded in the Bible that span the range of human emotions. This article can serve to refresh your prayer life. My time is running out, but I have to mention the Adventist Health column that brings up the question of legalizing the use of marijuana. This topic isn't as clear-cut as you may think. And another article you'll want to check out is Sylvia Rentz's Apple Talk, a devotional that asks this question: can an iPhone be used as a confessional? Be sure to visit us at AdventistWorld.org for informational and inspirational articles.
For this month's Adventist Mission feature, learn how a young man in police training answered God's call to build a church in his community. Ricky Oliveras has more.
I recently took a trip to Indonesia where I received warm greetings from a small Adventist congregation. We were pretty much in the middle of nowhere on a small island, so I wondered, how did the gospel message make it all the way out here? Then somebody introduced me to Philippus. When Philippus was younger, he went to police officer training on a different island. During his training, he met an Adventist and they began studying the Bible together. Philippus was convinced that the Bible was true, and he felt a burden to share what he had learned. He had no idea where to begin, but one night he had a dream telling him to build a church in his home village. He never thought he'd go back to his home, but he knew that God was calling him to share his new faith with his own tribe. He went door to door telling the villagers the good news he had learned. Some people refused to listen, but others were very interested. After some Bible studies, his family and some neighbors gave their hearts to Jesus. And since then, their congregation has grown, and they already have an established church on the island. While I was there, I watched them break the ground for their second church. Please continue to pray for church planters like Philippus who are starting new congregations in challenging areas like Indonesia. And thank you for supporting Mission.
And now, hear the testimonies of young adults in Central America who dedicated a year of their lives to mission.
My name is Ana Claudia Oliveira. I'm 18 years old and I'm from Salto. Before coming here, I was studying psychology.
My name is Sergio. I'm from Uruguay and I'm studying to be a teacher of computer science.
My name is Josie Benitez. I'm 18 years old. I was studying to be a veterinarian and, well, I stopped it to come to 1 year in mission.
in 1 year in mission, we should depend completely on God.
In the mornings, the personal worship is very important.
I believe that we can't give something that we don't have. I mean, if we don't have a great connection with Jesus, we can't transmit that to people.
One of the highlights of this task is
fulfill myself in a spiritual way and then go and reach people.
We have to be like Jesus because what he did was give love.
be friends first and then show Jesus to them.
God said to us that we have to bring his news to all the world.
He said, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations."
And we should obey what he said before he left.
Want to keep up with worldwide issues related to religious freedom, but don't know where to look? For this month's Public Affairs and Religious Liberty segment, Dwayne Leslie shares how you can stay up to date with religious freedom topics with the Global Faith and Freedom television program.
Even just the most cursory review of the news today reveals that religious freedom in many parts of the world is on life support. As we've reported in the past, more than 76% of the world's population currently lives under significant restrictions on religious practice or belief. For those of you that are interested in learning more about current issues related to international religious freedom, I'd encourage you to tune into Global Faith and Freedom. Each week, we bring you a broad range of experts, including religious leaders, professors, humanitarian officials, and political leaders discussing these important topics. Upcoming episodes focus on religious persecution in Nigeria and the recent kidnapping of over 200 schoolgirls, the increase in anti-conversion and apostasy laws around the globe, and the future of religious freedom in the United States after the Hobby Lobby decision, just to name a few. No matter your background, Global Faith and Freedom provides a dynamic and easy way to understand some of the most pressing issues facing people of faith around the world. It airs weekly on the Hope Channel, so check your TV listings for the broadcast times in your area. You can also watch episodes online at hopetv.org. If you're interested in discussing some of the topics that you see on the show, please feel free to interact with us on Twitter at IRLA_USA. I hope that you will stay tuned and watch Global Faith and Freedom as we try to change our world one episode at a time.
For this month's report from Adventist World Radio, Dal Chow shares AWR's developments with the local radio broadcasting in Northern Africa.
Adventist World Radio reaches the people in North Africa in a number of ways, from shortwave to podcasts and more recently local radio. Tell me a bit about the latest developments in local radio.
Sure. North Africa is a very interesting region, and we are diversifying the reach for North Africa by using FM stations. No, it's not possible to do that from within the countries we're wanting to serve. Well, we have found a way to locate some stations in surrounding countries that are able to reach the shores of many countries in the North Africa region. Currently, we're installing like 6 stations around that part of the world, 5 of which are already up and running. So we are now airing programs in 5 languages to that region. We do English, of course, because Gibraltar is right there. We do Spanish because Spain is right there. We do Arabic, we do French, and we're doing a local Berber language called Takalik. So in those 5 languages, we're reaching millions of people. And we hope to penetrate more and more the larger cities of these countries with the message in all these languages. People speak many languages in that region. So that's exciting news. That's unfolding as we speak. And we just hope and pray that this project will go forward to reach many more people with the gospel of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in that part of the world.
Still ahead, getting a checkup on your emotional health.
But up next, see ways young people can serve in the U.S. state of Texas.
It's the all-new, updated In Prayer app, reminding you to pray at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. 7 days a week. Prayer requests and stories, the daily devotional, all the latest videos, and social media integration through Facebook and Twitter, plus many more features. Now available free for iPhone, iPad, and Android.
during communism, corporal punishment, it was just the thing to do. That meant I have to put my hands out, and I would get so many hits on my hands that instead of having the dip, it was puffing out. I would pray that God would keep me safe. My name is Adrian, and my prayer was answered.
Welcome back. In North America, coordinators for 1 year in mission are encouraging young people to volunteer their time and talents in San Antonio, Texas. If you're a young adult and are looking for a new way to serve others, this may be the opportunity you've been looking for.
Hi, my name is Janina Irving, Project Coordinator for 1 Year in Mission. 1 Year in Mission is an initiative of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, empowering young adults to take action now. It started as a movement with 14 young adults from around the world coming together in New York City to learn how to do evangelism in our modern 21st century world. Now it's your turn to join that movement. 1 Year in Mission is 1 year to give, to serve, and to change lives. Young adults, now it's your turn to step up and to take charge and to share the hope of Jesus Christ with our dying world. Acts 5:28 says, "You have filled Jerusalem with your teaching." That is, the apostles filled Jerusalem with the teachings of Jesus Christ. And that is what we'll do in San Antonio. Be a part of 1 Year in Mission, San Antonio, Texas. Volunteer today.
While plenty of emphasis is placed on achieving and maintaining ideal physical health, it's important not to forget about mental health. Peter Landless has more for this month's Health Ministries feature.
How are you? What a question. People ask us this every day. How are you feeling? Well, we often think this is only talking about how we feel physically. Do you have any aches? Do you have any pains? Have you had any health issues? Well, really today I'm asking you the question, how are you feeling emotionally and mentally? Mental health is a very important component of our wholeness. You know, we are holistic beings, body, minds, spirits, and a tremendous emphasis that we have on our mental focus, on our well-being, how we feel, how we think, what other people think of us, what we perceive they think of us. Mental health is becoming and set to become the most important cause of disability within the next 5 years. The most important cause of disability within 5 years from now. Can you imagine? How is your mental health? Are you feeling well? Is your mood good? Are you feeling upbeat? Have you got a positive outlook on life? Of course, you're going to face issues, you're going to face trials, you're going to face situations. But how you deal with it, that is what mental health is all about. And we're going to be speaking on the various aspects of what makes you tick physically, emotionally, and particularly mentally. May God bless you as you think about this in your own life.
Now let's turn to Benjamin Baker for a look at Adventist history. This week, Adventist students in northern India share a Signs of the Times magazine with the Dalai Lama.
Thank you for joining us. On August 31, 1946, Frederick Cairns Gilbert died. Born in London, England to Russian Jewish parents in 1867, Gilbert had a traditional Jewish upbringing and early developed an intense hatred for Christians. He migrated to New York City in his teens, but ultimately ended up settling in Boston. There he was converted to Seventh-day Adventist Christianity by a couple called the Fisks, who graciously took him into their home and, as Gilbert put it, lived their religion more than they talked it. Disowned by friends and family for accepting Jesus as the Messiah, the undaunted Frederick went on to do pioneering work among the Jews of Boston. He established centers for Jewish refugees, orphans, and the unemployed. He preached on soapboxes and canvassed from tenement to tenement. He published gospel magazines in Yiddish and wrote books uplifting Jesus as the hope of his race. He also founded the Jewish department of the North American Division, and from 1922 until his death was a field secretary for the General Conference. Also during this week, but in 1960, in northern India, on the foothills in the Himalayas, Adventist students from Vincent Hill College gave issues of the Signs of the Times to a store owner of the Roman Catholic faith. Later, the kind proprietor informed the students that members of a certain large household had taken copies of the magazines and returned requesting more. The Vincent Hill students arranged a visit to the household and there met for 30 minutes with the Dalai Lama, who showed rapt interest in Adventism and was enthusiastic about receiving a subscription to the Signs of the Times. Here you see a 25-year-old Dalai Lama with Signs of the Times in his hand next to one of the student colporteurs. And that was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching A&N. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, join our global conversation on Facebook and Twitter. You can connect with other Adventists worldwide and find links to more stories, photos, and videos. Visit Facebook/Adventist News or Twitter/Adventist Church.
Our good news for this week comes from Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. The passage says, "You will keep in perfect peace all who trust in you, and all whose thoughts are fixed on you."
Amen. That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.